box. Who do you think you are?
And we are live.
You don't have an intro? We need an intro for you.
No, I don't have one.
Okay, I will work on one for you this weekend.
Oh, right, that'll be cool. Well, hello everybody. Welcome. And today is February 16th, 2024. And this is our 10th episode, which is now called Beyond the Box. We were outside the box, but we decided.
But Susie's inside the box now.
Now Susie's inside the box tonight. That's
right.
Kind of cool. She's popping out. She's the present.
But you know what? That's all your guests in that seat.
Look, that is the dating game box. So Susie's the present. If anybody gets interested.
Yeah, she's always a present. She's a gift to everyone.
Right.
I'm in the present.
Yes, today was a very good show on Awake Nation. Susie was brilliant and just shined her beautiful light. Of course, I also get attacked in the chat on my own show.
Yeah.
And I think I know why now, Susie.
Hmm?
I think I know why now. I think I know who actually was attacking me.
Okay.
You can get their butts.
It makes sense now, right? But
All things have a connection, you know. That's
yes, I actually sent that it was sent to me, and I sent it to a bunch of other people, and I sent it to David and said, "Why?" I sounded like I was a 5-year-old. Why? I don't understand.
Why ask why? I mean,
okay, Brenda, you were going to start your intro real quick. Remember?
Oh, yeah. So tonight we are going to discuss our third eye and some remote viewing stuff. Now, like always, YouTube, everything that we say or show on this show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We advise you to do your own research, everybody, and we'll be all good. Now, that saves us from YouTube going, every time. And I need to figure out how to stream on Rumble.
To do what?
Stream on Rumble. There's supposed to be a number that I can get using my platform that I have now.
Yes.
To be able to do a thing on Rumble. But I think what I have to do is I've got to set up a show account on Rumble because I just have my own account on Rumble.
Well, you can do it on that too.
Yeah. So
it's a streaming number.
Yeah. They call it a ROTM something or another. I have to look again, but I've got to figure out how to get that number, where to get it from. So, but yeah, because that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, I like your artwork. It looks really good.
It does. You did such a wonderful job. and I love Susie in the box right now.
I think that's just freaking awesome. How that works out.
How to put her there all the time.
Right?
Somebody putting me in my place.
It's not a place.
It's a
present.
It's a box, and you're the present.
Hey, I'm in a good place. Okay.
I told her that I got a notification from X, or I still call it Twitter. There are people that are on my thing.
I can always go down and hide in the box.
Oh my God.
You can always pop up and be a Susie in the box.
Right. Do that one.
But I told her that, people over there on my thing have been watching our shows on X and leaving us little hearts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I was like, oh. So, yep. Well, so what do y'all want to talk about first?
Susie?
We want to talk about Susie.
I guess toothpaste.
Okay, I must have missed that somewhere.
Toothpaste is bad. Okay. Well, okay. So we
It has everything to do with the pineal gland, and
yes,
so right.
absolutely.
You got to start with the toothpaste.
Toothpaste. Well, because toothpaste.
Oh, right, fluoride in the
in
toothpaste.
it. Yep.
Right.
Fluoride is what clouds that thing, but there's lots of things that open it, like the sun. And I said, mine still works because there are certain things I am capable of. I said, but my mom wasn't one of those when we were kids to make us brush our teeth 3 times a day like everybody else. I brushed it before I went to school in the morning. Can't brush it all day at school. I'm not carrying around toothpaste and toothpaste. I was too cool when I was in high school.
Well, that fluoride, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but it calcifies the pineal gland. It calcifies it. So, you got to, I'm sure I'm not really sure what you got to do to get rid of the calcium on it,
sunlight.
Huh?
Sunlight.
Okay.
When you go places, do not wear sunglasses because the sun is well, they tell you at sunset and sunrise, look into it. But
I like to look at the sun, actually. Yeah. I do.
And then during the day, just when you go places, don't wear sunglasses, which aggravates me. I wish I would have known that before I bought my new seeing glasses, because when I go outside, they turn dark. But so what it is they say that when the sun hits your eyes, it reacts back there, and it really helps. It takes, I guess, if you spend a lot of time in the sun, like every day, take some more, which obviously, you spend a lot of time in the sun. So, but you're wide awake. You know a lot of things. You see things around you that other people don't. And that is what it means when that third eye starts working. I never really understood why my grandmother used to tell me all the time, use your mind's eye. My mind's eye. And I'm thinking, well, I am using my mind's eye. She would tell me, nope, your mind has its own eye.Use your mind's eye. And I never understood that phrase till I got a little older.
It's like watching a movie when you go to sleep in your dreams. You're watching, you're seeing it with your inside eye.
Yeah.
Because your 2 outside eyes are closed. So your you can see things with your other eye,
that they say that, and the first person I thought of when I heard this was Penny, because they say that if you close your eyes or you put something over your eyes while you watch TV, you are less likely to become indoctrinated from what they're doing, because your mind is working at the same time. And when they talk about certain things and that's not right, you're not seeing it. Right. So your mind is telling you that's not right.
Yeah, Penny puts that little mask on and she watches movies and falls asleep all the time.
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't call it watching the movie because I got the blinders on, but right. But that's how when I was in Alaska, I was gigging in Alaska, and before I went there, I knew that we were going to have a power outage. Okay. So the guys there are like, it's just Alaska. It's still in the United States. And I'm like, really? Okay. And then I had those, like the lantern that I have, the red one, I had a bunch of those really big ones. And so I invited everybody to come over for dinner. And we went down to play. We were playing from 10 until 6 in the morning. This is in Kodiak, Alaska. And the lights went out.
Oh.
And so everyone came to my room, and they said, we're sorry about saying that you were like, weirded out, that you thought that there was going to be a power outage. I said, so basically you want one of the lanterns that I packed and flew in from California to Alaska? Is that what you're asking? You want one of those? like this thing here? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
And we do see things with our mind's eye, and we also know things. I have a couple of things up here right now in which I was talking about this the other day. One was the Monroe Institute with an individual who called me, who I've been in contact with. He's a super soldier. He's in Vegas. And when he first contacted me, he was born in California. He was a test tube baby. And so he called me back, like, I don't know, 5 years later and said, God, you were right about everything. And I'm like, and that's supposed to make me feel good. Yes, I know that I was, but I'm not like one of these, like, I told you so. It just, that's what it is. And you need to do the research. So apparently he's been doing the research. So he sent me something on the remote viewing program. Also, John B. Alexander was in charge of PSI, psychic operations under the CIA. And now everyone's calling me now when I get on the show. I'm just going to have to tell them no. So the psychic operations that John B. Alexander is living in Vegas. He's got a place in Vegas. And I had kind of a tete-a-tete with him when Michael Aquino, he told me Michael Aquino had died. I went on a show called Ground Zero, and I give people second and third chances, but this individual was, very cut me off, tried to tell me, hold on a second. Yes, on a show.
Come on, if you're bored, whatever.
Okay, so
while you're reading that, let me read the scripture real quick.
okay.
Matthew 6:22-29. The light is the body of the eye. If therefore thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thy eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? So there it talks about the light of the body is the eye, therefore the eye be single, talking about the single eye. Yeah.
I'd be single too.
Huh?
And he said,
I'd be single too. I'm single.
Right?
No Valentine for me.
If my body be single.
So
I have this furry friend that
Putin.
oh yeah, he loves me. He goes everywhere with me. He's never too far. And he woke me up on Valentine's Day because he had to go out and pee. So I took that as I love you, mommy. Why not? What the hell?
Yeah, you're talking about that dude, and that dude worked with John Brennan and Michael Aquino, and oh my God, what a evil trio
Yeah, so, and I found him on
the unholy. There's the dark. That's the great darkness of the unholy Trinity.
Yes. When I found him, I was doing a show called Ground Zero, and the way that I got on Ground Zero was this individual made a remark to John B. Alexander, who I was researching in regards to his psyops. And then I saw a picture of him that this guy commented on with Michael Aquino. He was in the AFIO, which is the affiliated former intel officers. Okay. And that, so they knew each other very, very well. So I said something to him, and he said that guy. I said, Michael Aquino says, hey, he says, oh, that guy died. And I said, really? Nobody to update his wiki? That's so sad. I thought he had a lot of friends. And then he says, oh, those who do not know that they do not know are, what is it? Those who do not know that they do not know are stupid, or something like that. And I said, really? And my response wasn't something I could actually say on the air, but you can imagine.
Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. I said, I once was blind, but now I see, mofo. And now you're blind. And then another person came on and said, I've known him for so many years. He's an outstanding individual. Yeah, he's outstanding in his field of, doggy doo-doo. Just not
standing in the field of dog doo-doo.
Yes, not a good individual. So this person contacted me the other day, and I can't avail his name, but he is a super soldier. Did Putin get? If that's not Putin,
No,
No, this is my other dog Tucker, who is being nosy and wants to say hi to everybody.
that's a Tucker
Oh,
Carlson.
and then Putin, look, Putin is jealous. Putin's like, put him down.
Okay, so as in Tucker Carlson and Putin.
there you go. And we had, yeah, I know that is. I said that the other day. I was like, Tucker, and Putin. Those are her two dogs. Oh, that's pretty funny. And there's Putin,
Yeah, he was
And
jealous
he-
because I had the other one.
and his name is Putin because he was born in Russia.
That's right. So she's got Putin and Tucker. That's hysterical.
And I wonder if Tucker was born in the same state that Tucker was born in.
It was meant to be.
Just as an aside, before we go back to the remote viewing, did either of you ladies watch the Tucker Carlson Putin interview?
I did.
Of course.
Yes.
So, Tucker had a lot of time to think afterwards. I believe that he was very impatient. Putin told him at the very beginning, look, do you want a show or do you want the truth?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk? Do you want to just
Or do you
talk? Or do you want a show?
Yeah, or you want a show. And so, he's all like, because mostly he's only given 15-minute interviews. That's the longest interview he's ever given, ever. And so, of course, Tucker was very impatient and, kept homing in, and he asked him again. This is not an easy answer that you're asking me. This question is a very long answer. I'm going to have to give you history before you can understand why. And he did that, not necessarily for Tucker's benefit, although I have been told that Tucker is not a Russian expert, although I do love Tucker for his, chutzpah. And also, while he was there, I wondered if he might have been a little nervous because he was on a kill list after, I'm sure, like, going over there, he found out he was on a kill list. And then he kind of had the, if you will, audacity to ask for an American journalist. And then again, Putin, I saw, was very reserved and very, look at him like, really? You did not just ask me that. And he said, again, this is a very complex, subject, and it's a subject that diplomats negotiate over. And he didn't want to put him down and say, dude, you're a journalist. And
You're a news guy.
but you want me to just say okay and hand him over to you now after dinner? Should I go get him now? Because he wanted him to he said he wanted to leave with him right then. Okay, so I don't understand what that was all about.
Yeah, that's what he said. So we can take him back with us.
So we can take him back now. It's like, okay, hold on just a second, because we need to get enough bullets to shoot him while he's running away, and we don't want to shoot you at the same time.
Yeah, so when Putin was telling Tucker about the history, he was explaining, like, in 890 when the the people of Rush, that's what they call it, RUS, I guess, founded the land there. He was saying that they well, I did a little bit of research. He basically was explaining where they came from. He was explaining that they had, like, Catherine the Great and all them, and how they had come over. And so then I was watching this program of this guy who speaks Norse, from, like, the Odin and the white Odin. That's like my great grandfather's family on that side, right? So I was listening to this Bible study, because I said, if he didn't do that for anybody, Putin did that for me, to kind of get the history of the Russian people. So they were talking about the Hittites in the Bible. The word Hittite in the Norse language means the white person. So the white person that came down from the Norse, or the North, like Norway and all that, they migrated over to Russia. So that was Odin's people, the white Hittites, and they moved over into Turkey, and then they moved over, and then they ended up over in Russia. So that's who the Russian people would be the people of Odin, the white people from the north. And that's why it makes sense if they're coming from the Norway and the cold country, and then they're migrating all the way over to that land. So I thought that was interesting. I said, well, that makes sense now, you know, where they came from.
Did you guys get to see the post that Tucker did at the grocery store in
Yes.
Russia?
Yes.
Did
He's
you see how much it was? And then it was like $102.
right. And what he was saying was because America is saying that they're in a total radical economic decline. That is not true. That is an absolute abject lie. And the reason why he was over there for a multitude of reasons. I wondered if he was over there to see Snowden. We had an individual on our show the other day. His name was Trevor Fitzgibbon, and he is PR for Assange, Manning, Chelsea Manning, and Snowden. And also another person who's in the news is George Papadopoulos. His wife Simona has been on the show. And so if you're cognizant of what happened with the release of the news that Russiagate was actually orchestrated through Brennan, and they chose 26 Trump people to target. One of them that they named was George Papadopoulos, and that's Simona Papadopoulos, Magente Papadopoulos. That's her husband. And I just made contact with her recently, and she's going to be a regular on the show. And so I asked her what her thoughts were. And there was also a Russian that died today in prison. He was an individual who was poisoned at one point. He came over from Germany and went back to Russia. He's apparently a dissident, but we're touting him as a hero. Now, our dissidents are in jail languishing. The J6ers that they're calling dissidents, who are actually patriots, Americans, they're languishing in prisons.
Yep.
But, you know, I'll look up the Russian guy's name, and this individual died in jail. He was in his 40s, in his late 40s. And so it came out that it was George Papadopoulos that sent another video showing this guy talking to the CIA about getting a couple $1 billion so that they could orchestrate a coup.
Wow.
And that's why this guy was in jail in Russia for, you know, precisely that. So, you know, the first thing somebody told me when I got off the air, they kept asking me questions and questions. I said, I don't know. I cannot answer because I haven't done the research. And it would just be a moot point because I don't know the answer. And they kept asking me over and over again. I said, you know, I've been on the phone with you like 10 minutes. I can't answer. I don't know. I need to actually do the research. So I'm trying, but you're texting me. And if I find anything, I will send it to you. So that's what I found. George Papadopoulos was the one that actually sent it out. And it was a videotape of this individual sitting down with the CIA. So now with that in mind, like your first, and here's what I'd like to tell your audience, your very first story, and Tucker even said this, the very first story that comes out, if you take that very first story, you're going to be spreading misinformation because that very first story, more than likely, is going to be substantial, maybe a little grain of the truth, but just lies. Everybody's scrambling around to find out because they don't know either. They're scrambling around. Maybe somebody that's done research before gets the story and he can put some backstory on it. So don't take the first story that comes out.
Right. You're
going to have to sit on it for a little bit until some intel starts coming through the wires. And even that, you're going to get fake crap and you're going to get stuff that's legit. And you're going to have to sift through that and try to find out what is the truth and what is not. You know, so these days I try not to just, you know, swallow the whale because I'm just going to end up being bloated with a lot of, you know, stuff that's not true. And so I try to just sit back and wait and then try to figure it out based upon my own research. Okay. Right. Susie is an expert in the biblical region. She's read the Bible 7 times. She's like me. The churches that I didn't go to, she did.
I always say with her, she like jumps down a rabbit hole and takes a shovel. And when she gets at the bottom, she just keeps on digging a little deeper.
Right. Yes. And when you strike water,
Swim.
Put in a well. Okay.
Right.
And just keep moving. She knows how to do that stuff. I don't.
I know it. She amazes me.
Yeah, she's like she's not just Susie a homemaker. She's literally like Susie ranch maker, house maker. She makes the house. She builds the houses and arenas. So I tell people I build PowerPoints and Susie builds cities.
Yeah. Right.
Countries.
She builds cities and countries. And
Yeah.
eventually, I told David, eventually we're going to interview Putin. You know that, right? He says yes. And Susie's already talked to him on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a very, very interesting. Very interesting. Oh my goodness.
I Facebooked him on Facebook and had a conversation with him because I had a dream. God told me to talk to Putin. I'm like, yeah, right. Like I'm going to talk to Putin. You know. You know. Sure. Okay. So, but I did. I had some family members in Lithuania and Russia. My mom's side of the family. My mom used to ride her cousin lived on the Russian front. She used to ride her all the time when she was a kid. She told me. So, but yeah, I ended up getting on a group with my friends, and then they were in some of the Putin groups back in 2012. You know, back when Obama was president. You know, and right. And then that's when he was talking about his dad being in the hospital, and he was really worried about his dad. He was worried somebody might poison his dad or hurt his dad. You know, and that, I thought that was kind of weird because he's the president, yet he was fearful that something could happen to his dad in the hospital, you know, even in Russia, right? I mean, you never know, right? Because you got people that, you know.
It's everywhere. You got to have that good and bad, apparently.
You know,
don't know why it has to be that way. I really don't.
There were a lot of assassination
sunshine and happiness.
You know, there was a lot of assassination attempts on Putin all the time. Like, right. I remember one time he was supposed to be going to some meeting. I remember, but instead some of his people were in the car, and there was like a bomb set up for them, and then one time on a plane, but he wasn't on that plane. And so there were people were always trying to assassinate Putin all the time. I remember that because he was talking about it, and then I was following the other people, and I was like, dang, man. I mean, everybody was trying to get Putin all the time. So he's always been one step ahead of all that stuff, you know. And
he's a pretty intelligent man.
Yeah, he even went to okay, so I followed him when he went over to the Vatican to see the Pope, and he wanted to ask about the Fatima prophecy because he's an Orthodox Christian. So he knew the prophecy that was given, and so he when he went there, he put pictures on Facebook when he was there. He took his own food and his own water. He didn't eat anything at the Vatican. He didn't take any food from them. You know, he was worried about getting poisoned, right? That's right. What he said.
That's natural.
Yeah, I mean, you know, hey. And so he wouldn't eat anything or drink anything there. And when he met with the Pope at the time, he asked him about Fatima, because in the prophecy it says that the Virgin Mary said to the children of Fatima that if Russia is not consecrated, that Russia would punish the entire world. Okay, that was the prophecy of Fatima. So that Russia would.
What does that mean?
That Russia would be like, come down on the world.
No, I mean, if Russia wasn't consecrated, what does that mean?
Consecrated? Well, okay. So,
as Christian?
Okay, so apparently the worrisome problem was Russia and the Catholic Church, because the priest Kirill, who is the Orthodox main priest of Russia, Okay. He works with the other priests around the world. Now, they have this thing where I guess they consecrate, or they say, I'm not Catholic, so I'm doing my best to,
I was Catholic. I was raised Catholic.
yeah. So I'm breaking this down best I understand it, which is minimal. I mean, I'm sure other people understand this better, but from what I researched and what I learned about it, Russia was to be consecrated like with the Vatican and the other nations, kind of like, like he wanted to join the EU, that kind of thing.
You are too fat.
Like
she's trying to. I'm sorry, Lily's trying to. She's so fat, and she's trying to climb in this little itty bitty space I have.
I'm being growled at right now by that evil thing right there.
Oh my God, she's pushing the table, Susie.
So our animals are out of control.
Right, like Russia was going to be. So Russia was supposed to be consecrated with the world church, joined part of it, consecrated in, or there would be no peace in the world, and that Russia would punish the world. So Putin went to find out if Russia would be consecrated at that time, and at that time the Pope said he would not talk about the prophecy with Putin. Okay, so that was a bad sign at that time. Okay, and so that was worrisome to a lot of people. But later, he did consecrate. Russia was consecrated, and so that meant that there would be a peace, and that Russia would not, come down on the rest of the world. So yeah. It was pretty heavy duty prophecy, So, but they did get consecrated,
Okay,
but not that trip was there, It was later on, because I think some things okay, remember when they found the Ark of the Covenant, or the Ark of Gabriel in Mecca in Arabia? They were digging, and 4,000 people got electrocuted when they found the Ark of the Covenant. Because
did it go to Africa?
What?
Did the Ark of the Covenant go to Africa?
No.
Well, what was the thing in Africa?
I think the real one's buried out there in the Grand Canyon.
No, it's not even close, people. Okay, so the story is that the Ark of the Covenant, okay, or the Ark of Gabriel, that's the angel Gabriel, the one that, one that announced Jesus is coming, right? He met with Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, and gave him the Ark of the Covenant. It was put underneath in Mecca, under the holy place in Mecca, okay? Where where they have that black cube and they all go around.
Where is it now?
Okay, well, let me get to that. It was buried there. Now, back, I think it was like I don't know how many years ago it was. It wasn't that long ago. It was on the internet, but they were doing some construction work in some of the they had some tunnels and some rooms underneath the holy site, right? And they stumbled onto where the Ark of the Gabriel was at. But if you know the story of the Bible, anybody that touched that thing got electrocuted and died.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so 19 workers got electrocuted. So they sent in another group. They got electrocuted. Then the thing discharged some kind of high voltage, and it killed 4,000 people in Mecca, at the holy site. 4,000 people, and there's pictures of it. Electrical stuff was coming up out of the ground, killing everybody. So at that point, the call was put into the Vatican. Now, the instructions to handle the Ark of the Gabriel had been originally kept at the holy Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, that it used to be Constantinople back when the Catholic Church had it, but back in 500 when they built the church, okay, the instructions to handle that ark so that you didn't get electrocuted and die. I call it because it's a mass weapon of destruction, basically, because the thing electrocutes everybody. It's a very powerful box. Okay, so this thing was, the prophecy was that Gabriel told Muhammad that whenever he was to bury this thing and whenever it was revealed to the world, it would be close to the end of the world. Okay, so they found this thing, maybe 6-7 years ago is when this happened, I think. Okay, so at that time, whenever Mehmet took over Istanbul, okay, they moved all the artifacts over to the Vatican. So the Pope had the instructions how to handle that thing. So he actually, this is so crazy. The Pope in the Vatican calls Kirill, who's the Orthodox priest from Russia, okay, and he calls Putin, and this is before Russia was consecrated, okay? This is why it got consecrated. Okay. He calls him and he says, hey, you need to go get this. I have the instructions of how you can get this thing out without everybody getting killed. And you've got to remove this thing from there. So the Russian ships came into Arabia, which has never happened ever. But at that time, they all came in to Mecca, and Kirill successfully removed the Ark of Gabriel out of Mecca, and they took it to the Antarctic. Okay, so it is now in the Antarctic. That is where it is at now. And it is documented. You can research it. You can look it up. All this is documented. They did some kind of deal with it over there. The priest did whatever it was that he was instructed to do with this thing. I don't know.
Do you really think
Go on, Lucy.
safe place for it to be?
Huh?
Do you really think Antarctica would be a safe place for it to be?
Well, that's where he does. The Pope told Putin to take it up there.
Yeah, well, the Pope's done a little unmentionable things. I wouldn't have trusted him.
I don't know. But,
I would have dug a big hole and buried that sucker right back up again.
Maybe they thought they need to put it on ice. I don't know.
Well, then what they should have done was drill a hole, put it in the ice wall, and let it go ahead and cover itself back up again. Because, that's a little bit of a dangerous thing to just be leaving in the hands of the people in Antarctica. They're a little sketchy anyways.
Well, from what I understand, it's at one of the Russian Orthodox Church facility properties that's very well, guarded.
Okay. Well.
Okay. So at that point, that's when Russia was consecrated, and okay.
What was that, Susie? Or what was that, Penny? I thought did you just slam your hand on the?
No, my mic was off.
Oh,
My mic was off because I'm over here yelling at Lucy, and the only reason that Lily wanted to come and cuddle with me is because she wanted my sandwich,
Of course.
which she ate.
see, I'm not the only one that gets used for food. My animals don't like me unless I have food. Then they surround me. I never eat alone. I'm not allowed to go to the bathroom alone. I do nothing alone, ever. I have to buy large amounts of food. That way I can share. And I don't care what I'm eating. I could be eating spinach and they want it.
Yeah, actually, Lily had a salad a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
which I thought was unusual because normally she doesn't like salads, but she's just an eating machine right now.
Did it have ranch dressing on it or something?
No, actually, no, it didn't. It had like a vinaigrette on it, and I had to look up to see if vinaigrette is going to hurt a dog.
Huh.
It says it's okay to have a little bit, but she'd already ate it, Yeah.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I usually always look before I feed them anything because, you never know.
I know you don't never know.
Especially my 5 pound one because, you feed him something that's not good for him. It ain't going to take much. So that's all I need to do is be running to the vet again.
Okay, so you're remote viewing with when you were talking about CIA, John Brennan, you were talking about the other evil,
John B.
You know.
Alexander.
yeah,
Um,
because he was doing like
He's
Then-
actually the person that, if you've ever heard of the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, that was a real project, and that was his project. And also, Chet had talked about that project. Chet said he knew it was real too. And an individual that was involved in that project was in his office one day and was talking to him about, certain things that he could do by stopping the hearts of animals, which Chet said that he saw him do that. The Men Who Stare at Goats, they stop your heart. They explode the heart of the goat it's a psychic ability that you have, like starting storms, stopping storms. I can't
yeah,
stop.
because your body's electrical, and they must have some way of interfering with your electricity.
Right. And it's a way of you to actually project, as a matter of fact, anger as a weapon. So that's what the military has used to scare people into compliance with the anger, the abject anger. When you blast somebody with anger, it literally will freeze their ability to think. It's like being in a firefight, And my husband, who was a police officer, said when you're in a firefight that you rely on your instincts in your training, and you know this, right, Brenda?
Yep.
You rely on your instincts. So there was a case in which he told me about, which was in LA. I don't know if it was a bank robbery or whatever, but he said that the reason that the cops died was because after, and I think this was a big fat lie that he was telling me, that after they shot, they bent down to pick up the rounds because that's what they did in the firing range. Because the range master said, pick up your spent casings, don't leave them on the ground.
A lot of times they usually do leave them because forensics has to come in.
Right.
And get
So what he said made absolutely no sense to me because he was a big fat liar. He belonged in the Big Fat Liars Club, but I didn't find this out until much later. Like 25 years later, how bad of a liar and psychopath that he actually was.
Yeah, sometimes people can hold that form for a long time.
Yes. Well, especially if you're being drugged. So that if you're being drugged, then that messes with your ability to do it pretty much anything. It messes, if you talk about fluoride, okay, let's add some drugs onto that fluoride. And now you are literally a walking compliant zombie because you have these doctors that are telling you if you don't take these drugs, you're going to die. The entire medical community is predicated upon falsehoods and the sale of narcotics and other things that are supposed to alleviate your pain, but in fact they don't do anything to alleviate your pain. They actually just addict you so that the doctors have a return customer, and they also will cause more degeneration of your body, so then you have to take another drug and another drug and another drug, and then before you know it, there's nothing left of your body because it's all decayed.
I found something out that is going to just totally depress Susie.
Do what?
I cannot take ivermectin. I love my doctor because my doctor believes in home remedy stuff. Okay. He is excellent. And I took in the Numi Swish and he got on the computer. He looked it all up. He's like, yes, you can take it. Because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to detox anything that I have to take.
Yes, she said it would actually detox a cancer remedy.
Well, so I went in to talk to him about the ivermectin. And he got on the computer and he started because he looks it all up while I'm there. And he said, ooh, no. He said, find a different one. Find something else. And I said, okay, why? He said, you're on 2 blood thinners and ivermectin will cause you to, he didn't say might. He said it will cause you to bleed internally. And I was like, oh, good thing I asked you before I started taking it. So now I've got all this ivermectin here, and I got the little vegetarian pill capsules, so I'm gonna put it in there so that Jack can take them. So I've got to find something else. And
Wow.
yeah, I was like, well, it's a good thing I didn't just start taking him, just on a whim.
Yes, it is a
I
good
always
thing.
ask him because, like I said, I have been
Right.
wanting to tell you that Nutris.
You should talk to Dr. Artis. You should get a second opinion and talk to Dr. Artis about it. Because he's like a chemist.
Nope.
Well, also, I wanted to let Penny know that NutraSwish. See, when I woke up from my coma, I had neuropathy in my left foot, my ankle, and up the side of my left leg, right? I haven't felt the bottom of my foot in 6, almost 7 years. 3 months after taking that NutraSwish, I feel my foot, I feel my toes, I feel my ankle, and I feel up my leg. The only thing that has not woken up yet that I have no feeling is the very top of my foot. But everything else I feel.
That's amazing.
And I figured it out. What it is that stuff works on different things for different people. Because my doctor was hoping that the one thing that it would do.
It was like COVID. COVID would find your weakness.
Right.
Whatever your particular physiology, the weakness that your particular body had, it would find that weakness and then it would pound on it. And that's how you would end up getting sick through your weakness.
Well, the one thing when he looked it up and he found out that it could restart my thyroid, that it could also help with my diabetes, kick my pancreas. Yeah. So that's what we were hoping it would do. So far, no. But you know what? I'm happy with the neuropathy being gone on the bottom of my foot because now I can be barefooted and not worry about standing up and stepping on something that I don't feel in my foot and getting an infection.
Wow.
So, yeah, I haven't felt the bottom of my foot in 7 years. First time
That's
I
a
stood
miracle.
up to get on my walker and realized I could feel my foot, I stood there. I bounced up and down and smacked my foot on the floor because I couldn't believe I could feel it. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
It worked really well. But yeah, I think I probably should try to talk to him about that and see, because he may know a little bit more of something where that is concerned. Because like my doctor said, I'm on one because naturally I have a blood disease. My blood runs thicker than anybody else's. My brother had the same thing. So we've had it all of our lives. Okay. So I'm on one to thin that out, but I'm also on one because now I am prone to blood clots. And the last time I was off of my blood clot medication, within 3 days, I was in the hospital and both of my lungs were just filled from top to bottom with blood clots. I was breathing less than 30%. So they had to take me in, do emergency surgery, clean it all out. And they said, don't ever stop taking. You're going to have to be on this the rest of your life. And I'm like, God, I hate modern medicine. I hate it. But unfortunately, because of the problems that I do have, I have to take it. I cringe every time I have to take my insulin. Every time I put that needle in me, I'm like, ah. So, but till something else better comes along, I don't really have a choice. So
I hear you.
But yeah, now I never learned or tried to do the remote viewing, but however, I could be doing that in my sleep. I tell Susie a lot about my weird dreams, and I'm never where I'm supposed to be. I go other places. And so I don't know if that is what I'm doing, because I've never really tried to sit there and do it. And somebody said that you can learn to do it.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if I would be afraid that I wouldn't come back.
Well, that would be like a form of astral travel in which you're actually projecting your spirit to travel through dimensional walls to be able to see in another part of the earth, another time, past, present, or future. Remote viewing is also part of a time travel program.
Right.
And
I know.
it's also something I believe that we all can do.
I know. Yes.
Tell that story. Tell the story about when you went to the coffee shop. Tell that story.
I don't think that's
In
remote
Bastrop when you
viewing.
went to
I
get
think that's
coffee.
actually you have a remote hearing, which is different. But
Yeah,
it's
same thing.
no, it's different. Remote, because you were hearing it, you weren't seeing it. Okay, that is another skill. It's just like having visions with your eyes open or whatever. But you were literally hearing me, and you didn't know like where it was coming from. But you were hearing me, and I wasn't even speaking. It was inside my head. So I was in a coffee shop. I went to town and I was doing writing. Every once in a while, I like to get out when I'm writing just to change venues a little bit. And I went into this coffee shop, and this guy was texting me, and he kept saying that he knew me in Langley. And I'm like, dude, if you knew me in Langley, I was probably a baby in a cage. So, you didn't work with me in Langley. And he just kept saying, I did. And then he said, I'm not going to be here in a couple of months. I'm flying off world. And I was like, okay, fine. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. And then he just kept texting me and bothering me. And so finally I just said, what do you want? And then I said to him, yeah, what do you want? What do you want? And then I finally had to take a call. I was in like a Starbucks. I finally had to take a call and talk to this nutcase who said that he knew me and he was flying off planet. And, I'm like, unless you were an alien and I talked to you when I was a baby, I don't know you, pal. I don't, and he said, well, you always dress in black. I'm like, dude, you could get that from looking at, my profile. And yeah, I did dress in black a lot. When Susie first met me, I wouldn't even wear anything other than black. It took me a long time because when you're satanic ritually abused, a lot of times you end up just wearing black, and it's very difficult for you to break that. And I remember saying anything else offends me. Like, what? And it took me a very long time to be able to wear different colors. Of course, I'm wearing darker colors now. I'm wearing black. But so then I get home, and Susie said, yeah, she had this little thing set up in the kitchen where she would pray. She had candles. And she said, yeah, I walked in the house and I heard this voice. And it said, what do you want? She said, and I thought it sounded like you, so I went down to your room, but you weren't there.
No, I went and I walked around in the living room because there was nobody in the house, and the voice echoed and it drifted away. Like, what do you want? And I was like, what was that? And then I said, that sounded just like Penny, but it just kind of drifted away. It was weird, and it was like 5:30 something.
Yes.
And
so then when she told me that, I just looked at her and I went, and I got my phone and I looked at my phone and I said, oh, what time did you hear that? She said, I don't know, around 5:30. And I go, and I showed her my phone. I go, at 5:30, this guy was irritating me. And I said 3 times really loud in my head.
She texted it.
Loud. I texted it. Yeah. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Like, but I didn't say it out loud. Then I had to take a call from him because he said he knew me in Langley. And I'm like, dude, I don't know you. Are you thinking of somebody else?
Maybe. I mean, they always say that everybody has like a twin walking around out there somewhere.
Oh, I know I have twins.
Yeah, I had one.
So with that guy, okay, so we had this guy.
You had a twin? What happened to your twin?
Died when we were 5, spinal meningitis.
Oh my God.
We had this homeless guy.
Yeah, a homeless guy? Where'd you get a homeless guy? Can you hear me?
What'd you say?
You're freezing.
Who? Me?
No, Susie.
Oh. So Susie said she had a homeless guy. So where'd you get a homeless guy?
She's always picking up homeless people and trying to help them. She's a saint.
I know, right?
All right, so I had this guy named Delbert. These homeless people always came to my ranch because they knew that I would help them. So this guy shows up at my ranch one day, and he says, "I don't have anywhere to go. Can I stay here?" And I was like, "Okay," you know. So Roger decided to take him to the store one day, and I was sitting out at my tractor. I was getting ready to go work on the tractor, and I was standing there, and I was remote viewing him but not just remote viewing, but I could hear him too. I could see him sitting on the phone talking to his friend, and they were down the road in the car, and I could see him talking to his friend on the phone, and I heard him say, "We'll be there in just a bit," right? And I heard him say that, and I saw him on the phone talking. So I'm like, okay, that was kind of weird. I'll just mind my own business, and I see him and I hear him. And so then he comes, I look up and I see at the gate, Roger's coming through the gate, and they pull up and they drive up, and Delbert gets out of the car, and I said, "I just saw you talking on the phone to your friend, and I heard you say, 'We'll be there in a bit.'" He said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I said, word for word. How could you hear me?" I said, "I didn't just hear you, I saw you." You know.
That would creep somebody out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it freaked him out. Yeah.
I know that my
So yeah,
It's called microwave hearing, or remote hearing.
yeah.
So she remote viewed and remote heard.
yeah.
I was miles away when she heard that conversation. I was like, 15 miles away.
Now, don't a lot of people that remote view, they can
Well,
hear
you were
what's going on while
you were
they're there,
in Belgium.
right?
Yes.
You were probably about 6 or 7 miles away, I think, from the house. Yeah.
Yeah. That's substantially far. I was in town.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the ranch. And then, also we were next to a National Guard. So one wonders what they were doing in the National Guard too, with frequencies.
Yeah.
Because you could, maybe be honing in on you're picking up from a frequency that they're emitting, and then you're like riding on that frequency, and you're hearing and seeing other people.
I've been doing that since I was little, though. So my whole life. So different
Right.
stuff like yeah.
So the remote viewing program, The Men Who Stare at Goats, with George Clooney, is actually a real project in which they experimented to try to stop the hearts of goats, because the objection was to be able to use psychic assassinations. There's also a movie that
That's a Mike Lucchino thing for sure. That's what
Yes.
he believed in. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were training them for. There's also a movie called Dreamscape. Dreamscape is with Dennis Quaid, and
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid, as a matter of fact, is in. We had the people. David Tice is the producer of Grid Down, Power Up. It's a movie about when when our power grid goes down, and the substantial reasons which could cause it to go down, from natural to sabotage, etc. So the person that is doing the speaking on the movie is Dennis Quaid. And Dennis Quaid is in a movie which actually that was a very important movie for me. It's called Dreamscape. And I remember seeing it when I was with my first husband, Steve Zenos. And Dreamscape was about the president of the United States is having dreams about nuclear war. They're nightmares. He wants to be able to stop them. And so he's going to be going to this dream clinic. Dennis Quaid is in this dream clinic, and he's sent there because of his psychic abilities and his abilities to go into people's dreams to help a child that's having dreams about monsters. So he goes into the dream, he intercedes, he helps the child fight the monster, and the child comes back. But there's an assassin that's there specifically to kill the president, because they know the president's going to come there. So Dennis Quaid intercedes in that dream and then kills the assassin in the dream, which kills him in real life. So my motto when I was growing up was, if I scream in my dreams, will you wake me? That's what I used to say to Steve. If I scream in my dreams, will you wake me? Because I'm having these terrible nightmares. And I learned to manifest in the dreams things that would help me, would stop these terrible things. Like I had a recurring dream about my mother chasing me around with a butcher knife. And so I manifested a police officer, and the police officer came and stopped her from killing me with the butcher knife. Because apparently I didn't feel
cutting board and just smacked her upside the damn
yeah,
head.
I didn't. Apparently, at that point in my life, I still didn't feel empowered enough to be able to do it on my own. So I had to have an intercessor for me. And I think that's the problem with our world today, is that we rely on intercessors instead of being able to take the power upon ourselves. For instance, in religion, we've always relied on an intercessor, a pastor, or a priest to interpret God's word to us, when in fact we are very fully capable of interpreting God's word. And how is a pastor going to know what God's actually saying to you? Because we were uniquely made.
Right. Well, I had told Susie that I get those reoccurring dreams. Okay. And usually if I have 3 in a row, watch it, because what I'm dreaming about is going to happen. So what I've learned to do, which I had told somebody else about it, and they said that is an amazing trade. There are people that do it, but it's really hard. But what I do now is, by the second one, I can change my dream. I change it myself. And then I don't have another one. So I've gotten kind of used to that, because when I was little, I remember having a dream like that over and over again. And then the next day I wouldn't go to school because it had rained all night. And I used to walk to school with my friends, and I had a dream that it had rained the night before. And we left to go to school, and we seen this big white van with a big bald guy driving it. And one by one, we started disappearing. So I wouldn't go to school. So my mom had my stepdad drive me and my friends to school. We were at the intersection, and bigger than shit, there's that white van with the big bald guy in it. And I flipped out. And that day they had 2 missing girls in our area. And I mean, my dad had to drop everybody else off and take me home. I wouldn't even go to school after that.
Did you tell your parents about the dream?
Yes, I told my mom about that dream every time I woke up. And she would tell me, it's just a dream, go back to bed. Just a dream, go back to bed. Well, after that happened, she was like, oh, I hate when you do this.
Right.
my mother hated that. My mother hated, who's that guy over there, Mom? Do we know him? He's talking to me. Yeah. She would say, where? And then she'd say, stop that. Don't do that. I'm like, what do you mean don't do it? I can't help it. They're there.
These are skills that I think that we all uniquely have. Some of us have honed them, and that's what these experiments were for. The experiments were not for our benefit, but for the benefit of the military industrial complex. I almost said the military industrial entertainment complex, because I'm part of that. But
they find it entertaining.
Yes, it's not for our benefit; it's for their benefit, because they want to weaponize everything. They've already weaponized our DOJ, our FBI. The CIA was never ever on our side, and neither was the NSA.
This is our opinion,
or the DIA or DARPA.
That's right.
DARPA is the only one that's not a 3-letter agency. It's 4 letters.
I got some 4 letters for him. Oh,
right.
But yeah. So I know somebody who has a show. She's been doing them for a long time, and she does remote viewing. And one of these days, I'm going to get a hold of her because I do see her shows. Robin, the girl that had come on the show last week or the week before with us, Susie, she watches her shows all the time. She's been totally into her shows. And her name is Jessica Jones, and she's pretty phenomenal. So I'm going to try to get a hold of her and sit down and have a conversation with her about the remote viewing. She's been doing it for a long time. She is very accurate on it.
Yeah, if you want to pursue this, I'll try to do a little bit more research and then make like a little presentation, put a couple of videos in there. We can, take a look at some of the videos. For the audience, if there's anybody that wants to weigh in on any of this, take a look at Stanford Research Institute, the Monroe Institute, look at PSI, which is a psychic, that was John B. Alexander's program, Watch Men Who Stare at Goats, which is predicated upon a real psychological operation. My friend who sent me some of these things, one of them, military use of remote viewing in the CIA FOIA document, that's Freedom of Information Act. Project Stargate. I have an individual I've been trying to get on the show, but she's just been really busy. Her grandmother was in Project Stargate. She's named in the CIA papers. And her grandfather was in Project Jedi, which I believe Project Jedi was the Men Who Stare at Goats project. Project Stargate is a collective name for advanced psychic functioning or remote viewing experiments and programs that were undertaken for over 20 years to create a trainable, repeatable, operational, and if at all possible, accurate method of psychic spying or information gathering for the U.S. military and intelligence agencies. Hold on just a second so I can yell at Lucy.
Oh, Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Mhm.
She's crying. I need to actually. Can you text Joel? See if maybe he can come in and get her. She's been in here for a while, but he's probably sleeping because he hasn't gotten any sleep with her.
So does she need to get out? Does she need to go out?
No.
No, she is in heat. So somebody has to actually take her out. So there's a thing, it's called remoteview.com if you want information. There's archives on there, interesting documents from the CIA released Stargate archives detailing many experiments and the science and theory behind remote viewing. The start of remote viewing, the U.S. intel, worried by the expansion of Russian research into psychic functioning in the late 1960s and early 70s, took the decision to explore psychic functioning. This is partly due to reports that surfaced in the early 70s, like the one from, the owner is the RAND Corporation. Isn't that interesting?
Right.
The RAND Corporation. It says 1973 RAND Paranormal Phenomena Net Assessment Study. The purpose of the 33-page document was to determine whether paranormal phenomena existed and how the Russians were investigating in it and how this tallied with American efforts. So we've always, why has the United States been against Russia? Did they have more elite Russian psychics than we do in America?
Well,
right? Why are we always in a tally with Russia? Russia's huge, by the way. It could literally crush any opponent. And to think that Ukraine would ever win against Russia, wow! You guys just really do some research.
But it's only 26 miles from the United States.
What, Russia? From Alaska?
Yeah.
Well, that's what that one girl that was running for president said. I can see Russia from my backyard, and everyone laughed at her.
Yeah.
Actually, she's correct.
Yes, I know.
That's true.
Yeah.
She was.
People just don't. Okay.
So, due to reports like this in the book Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. Hello. Is this why we're afraid of the Iron Curtain? Don't pay attention to the man behind the Iron Curtain. SRI, Stanford Research Institute, was contacted and contracted to test the waters and see if there was anything viable to psychic function, and the rest is history, as they say. So if you don't know what Stanford Research Institute is, please take a look at that as well. Uri Geller was there. And I remember talking to Matt Turner about this. He's got a podcast, and he said Uri Geller was a lot more than a spoon bender. And I said, okay. And then I researched Uri Geller, who is in Israel right now, by the way. And Uri Geller did come over to the United States, but he wanted to be famous. That's bad. So he came over and he worked with the CIA, and he worked at the Stanford Research Center. He did a lot of magic in conjunction with some factual things. When he was in Israel, he was like a mentalist, is what they called him, and I think he predicted the death of this one, like it wasn't a prime minister, but it was somebody of high rank in Israel.
Probably Sharon.
And he died. And
Yeah,
so Golda Meir, they asked Golda Meir, what do you think the future is? And she said, I don't know, ask Uri Geller. He seems to have a handle on it because he knew a lot of things. From 1972 to its disclosure in 1995, the American intelligence and military machines used and expanded forms of ESP or psychic functioning for intelligence gathering purposes. This mainly settled on a form they call it PSI, that's psychic functioning, known as remote viewing. The agencies involved in this 20-year and $20 million program, this was like in the 80s and in the 70s, okay, 1972. So $20 million program included a huge assortment of spaghetti soup name agencies like FBI, CIA, DIA. That's the Defense Intel Agency. Assorted military and government departments and agencies, many leading science labs, and probably many others with names that can't be mentioned and that are yet to be uncovered. In 1994-95, when key players started to leave their military intelligence careers behind them, the military viewers and Brussels Targ's FOIA request, it was decided to take the entire program history public to head off the coming media interests. So they're like playing, look it over here, look it over there, and then they're like, hey, here you go. Here's the ball. We're throwing it in your court because we already know a lot more than you're ever going to know, but we're just going to throw you a little tidbit over here. A decision was made to publicly validate the Stargate program for its accuracy and data and efficiency, hence to sanitize and clean the entire Stargate records for all those involved in light of the looming media disclosure. After all, no one wants to be associated with large dollar spending on psychic programs that don't work, do they? With this, the program went officially public in 1995, just after it had been turned over to the CIA. The CIA then, through its FOIA system, released 12,000 files, totaling 89,000 pages of material from the entire 20-year history of the program. So this is the site that you can find these papers on. It's called remoteviewed.com, where there are many documents and remote viewing sessions within the Freedom of Information Act archives that don't show the actual target or feedback. Therefore, although good for a typical remote viewing method and format example, these have no use in showing the accuracy of the session. So, and some of these that individual has not shown. There's a movie that I watched. I think it's called, I'm going to have to look for it while you guys talk, but I think it's called Agent Zero. And it's about an individual who is a remote viewer. So you guys talk, and I'll try to find that movie.
Okay. Susie,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to, I have this one story. So I was on Facebook with a group, and we had this, a lot of times you have a lot of Satanists that come on there and start, harassing you and stuff when you're talking about, God and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So this one guy comes on there, and he's sent some really horrific pictures, like it was just disgusting. It was like the Last Supper, and Jesus and all the disciples were like doing spirit cooking. They were eating a human, flesh and blood, and eating them on the table like a zombie. It was just the most disgusting picture ever. So he sends that to all of us, right? And then that night, I was sleeping, and I was sound asleep, and I saw this while I was sleeping. I saw this demon. He had done a spell on me, and he sent this demon to attack me. And I was sleeping, but I saw the demon coming through the window in my bathroom, and then he went through my bathroom, came through the hallway, and he came to touch me. And when the demon touched me, he got electrocuted. The demon did. And I mean, it was such a high voltage electric that when he touched me, that it literally jolted me awake. But I didn't get the electrical shock, but I felt it. It was like an explosion. And this thing took off, out and went back out the window. Well, the next day, that Satanist texted me, and it was the freaking funniest thing I ever saw. He says, "Peace to you, Joan of Arc."
Wow.
So I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I was asleep when that thing was trying to touch me, but it got electrocuted so bad. I'm sure in my mind what I felt happen is that demon went back and punished him, and that's why he was like, "Peace out,"
Right.
I'm not messing with you,
I found the movie
What is it?
Suspect Zero.
Suspect Zero.
If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to watch it. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. Suspect Zero is a 2004 psychological thriller film directed by E. Ilas Morangi and starring Aaron Eckhart, Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley is the remote viewer, and Carrie Ann Moss. The film was co-produced by Tom Cruise's co-owned company, Cruise Wagner Productions. It said it was a box office bomb, like it failed. But it isn't. It didn't fail. It got its message across. The film is about the hunt for Suspect Zero, a potential serial killer who's able to kill indefinitely because he's able to remain undetectable by law enforcement agencies. It features various elements from the declassified DIA Stargate remote viewing protocols. This is how they disseminate information through movies. So I speak on the military industrial entertainment complex, which works in conjunction with the military industrial complex. One cannot work without the other. This is its propagandist arm. It also disseminates coded messages. It also disseminates cues for MK Ultras. So if I say, watch this movie, don't come back and, kill me. Don't come back and say, oh, well, now I'm going to have to remote view kill you, Benny, because you made me watch the movie.
That movie was the serial killer. Was he remote viewing people?
No.
Okay, it was the remote
So
viewer looking for him.
I'll read you a little bit of what it actually is, but both of you actually need to watch this. Harold Speck was a traveling salesman making the rounds in a small town when he encountered an old man in a diner. The man approached him with a strange, uncomfortable question before abruptly leaving. Shortly after his visit, Harold was found dead in the front seat of his car, his eyelids cut off and a strange symbol in his grasp, a circular shape with a line drawn through it. Zero, right?
Yeah.
Federal Bureau of Investigation agent Thomas McElway, recently suspended for brutally beating suspected serial killer Raymond Starkey, is brought in to investigate Harold's death. He and his partner Frank Kuklock soon become recipients of a series of taunting faxes from someone claiming to be the killer, leading them to discover the existence of Suspect Zero, a mysterious criminal responsible for hundreds and hundreds of unsolved deaths and leaving no physical evidence behind. With the help of a mysterious informant known only as Mr. Blue, McElway and Kuklock follow the clues left by Suspect Zero in order to find the truth behind Harold Speck's tragic and mysterious death. When another body is found in the trunk of the car, the agents trace the ownership of the car to a room in a halfway house occupied by Benjamin Ryan. Upon further investigation, they discovered the room is decorated with obsessive compulsive sketches of crossed circle symbol, a Bible with sketches of missing persons, and a book on ritual. As McElway begins to question the other occupants of the halfway house, one of them informs him that the symbol actually represents a zero, not a circle. The killer also sends the agents a mysterious information prompting McElway to focus on Orion. Orion claims to be an ex-member of the FBI. This guy was an ex-member of the FBI. They used him as an asset because he was able to remote view from a program that they trained him in to be able to locate killers. But the thing is, he couldn't turn it off. So when he left the FBI, he was still tracking down serial killers. He couldn't stop it. He had the images in his head. So with the evidence they had, fiery passion, the agents must calculate and try to guess. So he finally McAway, the FBI guy, finally finds this guy, and this guy claims that that he had been a victim of a serial killer rather than a perpetrator. He finds one of the perpetrators. But suspect zero is a man who drives cross country in a refrigerated truck, part of an elaborate scheme to target and kidnap people. It's only when the FBI agent McAway discovers signs of freezer burns on his victims, he knows they're being transported in a truck. So this individual, as it becomes revealed in this movie, was trained in an FBI Stargate program. At the very beginning of that, when I was reading it to you, it said that these were details from the DIA, which is the Defense Intel Agency, works in conjunction with DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Defense Advanced Research. I forget what the other A is for, project. Let me look it up. But DARPA is responsible also. So my friend who contacted me said, you were right. It wasn't the CIA, it was the DIA that was involved in these projects. I said, no, it's not what I said. It's actually all the agencies. They're all working hand in hand with one another. So one CIA agent maybe work on counterterrorism. He has no idea there's a psychic program going on. Like in his friend in the next booth is working on psychic crap. He doesn't know. He'll never know because it's not going to be disclosed. Need to know basis. So you have the CIA working with the FBI, working with the NSA, working with the DIA, working with DARPA. All of these agencies working together and sharing their research. By the way, Elon Musk works with DARPA.
Yeah. Yep. And it's just like everything is one big circle. They all know each other. They've all known each other. They all work together. They've always worked together.
Mm-hmm.
Sad case, I think.
Yeah, what we have in the forefront right now is we know that there's some kind of intrinsic ties between Chet Swift and now us and Brennan. I'm not going to disclose the whole thing, but it's complex. But Brennan now is back in the news again with the CIA being the perpetrators with Brennan, who targeted Trump and Trump's alliances. So they targeted 26 different people, and it came out that Putin didn't want Trump in office because Trump is an unknown quantity. He actually wanted HRC in office. So that was an entire lie to say that he was backing Trump, because he wasn't backing Trump. And he just now said he would prefer that Biden was in office as opposed to Trump, because Biden is controllable. He's a known quantity. He's deficit. So when he comes into a room with Biden, he's got the advantage, 99.99% over the 0.5% of a brain, which is Biden. So he still says he wants to vote for, his vote goes for Biden, even though he's in Russia, he can't vote. But still, he would prefer to deal with Biden than Trump. Why? Because Trump is an unknown quantity.
Well, from what I'm to understand, the two of them have a very mutual respect for each other.
Yes, they do. And one thing that I remember Putin saying is that Putin is Russia first.
Yes.
And
he
Trump
doesn't understand why.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss words. That's what it's about. And I respect the fact that you're saying to me, America first. But now we have an individual who's lying down in the middle of the road and, saying, show me the money, like Fannie, show me your Fannie, what you talking about, Willis, who is just really not a very nice person.
Well, the thing of it is I know Putin likes the fact that Trump is America first. Putin likes America. He does not like the regime that's in, but he does like America. He went to school out here for a little while. He really likes America. He liked it when he was here. And he doesn't understand why we have people in charge that can't stand us and want us to be a third world country.
Yeah, Biden clearly does not like Americans.
Now, I want to show you something off subject because
Well,
I'm so proud of myself.
I'm going to say General Patton is unpredictable.
True that.
Yeah, that's why I have a relative jackass in my house. So I got this. It was really small, and I repotted it, and it is growing so pretty.
Susie has you beat.
It's getting big.
Susie has you beat. Susie, how long have you had that aloe vera plant?
Yeah, well, I just got this.
40 something years.
Susie's
Oh,
had an
wow.
aloe vera plant for 40 years. I can't even keep something alive for, a week.
I gotta show you. I'm doing this one too, which is a strawberry plant. Look at one of my strawberries.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, that is new. I still see the price tag on it.
But I had to bring them in tonight because it's going to get down too low for them tonight and tomorrow night. So they'll be staying in the house tonight. Tomorrow, when the sun's up, I'll be putting them out front for a little while I have the door open so they can get their daylight. But I love if you all seen my deck that Jack built for me and my gazebo and everything and all my lights and everything out there solar, you'd be like, I'm never leaving this spot right here. Matter of fact, you'd be like, I'm going to sit over here next to this fire pit.
Yeah, I don't leave this couch a whole lot.
You know what? I always stay in the house. So when he built that for me, it was the greatest thing because when it's nice out, that's where I am. Me and Putin. Putin loves it out there. Now, Tucker, we have to take him out front. Jack has to take him out front to use the bathroom because he walks out there, steps on the deck, and starts shaking. He's scared to death of it. Tucker's my little sissy dog.
Okay. Well,
He's scared to death of everything out there.
I think you need to call him Tucker Carlson. I really do.
I have a question, Penny. What was General Patton actually like, and what was his deal?
He wasn't very nice. He was, he was, the allegations were that at one point in the war, he came upon some post-traumatic stress soldiers who he said were cowering in a hospital, and he slapped them, and that was the beginning of the end for him in his regime. But he was a combat man, so if you would expect him to be a sweetheart,
and honestly,
a sweetheart.
Back then, did they really know what PTSD?
No, that's when they were studying the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. When I was coming out of MK Ultra and I'd left my husband and I said I felt like I'd been in a POW camp. Now it all makes sense. I started studying post-traumatic stress disorder, and I started studying psychopaths, psychopathy or psychopathy, as I call it. And I spent a great deal of time doing that because I realized that everyone in my life had been a psychopath. And so I needed to understand why these people were in my life, from my mother to my father to my husbands to my lovers. They were all psychopaths. And at some point in your life, and I know you've experienced this, Susie, where you're like, what the hell? Why are these people, why are they all psychopaths and liars? Because they feel that they can put it over on you because you're a person that actually is an honest person that gives people second and third chances, and they can take advantage of that, and they can, try to enslave you or steal everything you've got, which happened to me and has happened to Susie. Susie, tell them the story about the one guy that called you on the phone and told you not to, that one of your husbands was going to try and steal your land.
Oh, that was so freaking weird. So I had just gotten married to my fourth husband. Number
Let me
4.
beat. I only have 2, but then again, I was kind of married to Darrell, so that's 3.
Well,
And
2 of
John,
them,
4.
and 2 of the husbands, I got rid of them before the 30-day warranty ran out. So
She's smart. She smartened up at one point.
yeah, it 30 days, I figured it out. Whoa, what happened here? This is not. Yeah. Gonna stop this right now. Thank you. So, the other 2 lasted about 5 years. Well, the longest one was for about 5 years. The other one didn't make it, 2 years. Okay. That was the last one. So, but yeah, so, that one, I had to go to, we were having a drought and I needed hay for the horses and cows, and you couldn't find hay in Texas. So I found some hay. You could find it, but it was like $120 a roll for a round bale, and I could haul about 20 something on my trailer. So I figured I could go to Florida and get a load of hay, sell half the hay, and that would pay. I could sell the hay to the people down here that needed it, sell half the load, and then it would pay for my load. So it wouldn't cost me anything. And I would get, like 12 bales for me, 12 round bales for my horses for free. So it was in Pensacola. I had to drive to Pensacola. So I took a couple of friends of mine with me, and my husband didn't go with me. So I took a couple of friends with me, and we're in Florida, and we're driving down the highway, and my phone rings, and I don't recognize the phone number. It's from somebody in California, but I can't answer the phone. So I have Heather, the girl that died. Well, that's another weird story. Heather.
Yeah.
Right. One that died twice.
Yeah.
Hi, Andy.
Hey, it's Andy.
So I'm telling a story. So I'm driving down the highway in Florida, and the phone rings, and so I can't get it because I'm driving. So I ask Heather to answer the phone. So Heather answers the phone, and it's some guy from California who I don't know. And he says, he asked for me, and Heather pretended like she was me talking to him, because I didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was. And it was just some random call, I thought. And he says to me, he said, I was calling you because I'm a friend of a friend. And I said, a friend of a friend? Who, what friend? He said, well, I can't tell you. He said, but didn't you recently get married? And I said, yes. And he says, did things start to go kind of weird? Like things are going wrong and things are starting to happen? And I said, well, yeah. And he says, well, the reason I'm calling you is I'm telling you that you are not to sell your property right now, because if you sell your property right now, he will take everything you have and you'll be left with nothing.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm like, who are you? And he said, it doesn't matter who I am.
Angel.
I'm just a friend of a friend. Huh?
An angel.
He's already an angel.
And so I'm like, and then he said, and then he goes, well, I'm glad that you're actually listening to me and that you're being reasonable and listening to me. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm listening to you because, I'm just trying to find out what's going on here. He said, what I'm going to tell you to do is, he says, you're to wait for a while. He said, because the price of property and everything is going to go up. And then when it does, that's when you can sell your property. And then that's when you'll make the most money, when land value goes up, but it's not going to go up for a few years. But whatever you do not sell it now, because your husband right now will take everything and you'll end up with nothing. And I thought, okay, that was kind of weird. Well, I never did figure out who this person was.
did your husband have an ex maybe that he might have done that to, and it was a friend of hers or a brother calling you?
No, no, it was just so weird. And so when I got back, I had actually had my property for sale. And so when I got back, I thought, well, that's awful weird, you know, because we were going to sell it at that point. And see, if you're married in Texas and you sell your property, then automatically half of it belongs to the other person, even if you
Right.
owned it prior.
Right.
So whatever business that you do while you're married. So this person was warning me not to sell at that point in time, you know. And I never did know who that person was, but it was so weird because I had another encounter with another person that I was after I got back, and that was pretty weird. This person was like I thought he was like a homeless guy sitting in front of the convenience store, and he was reading a Bible, and he had a dog and a backpack. And I got out of my car to go in the store, and it was at the intersection of across the street from the cemetery where my daughter was buried. And it was at a gas station in Bastrop. And so I got out and walked up by this guy, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "What are you reading in the Bible?" And he said, "Oh, I'm reading in the book of Revelations." And I said, "Oh." So he got up and he started talking to me, and he looked, and earlier that day I had recently had lost my daughter, you know, within that year, you know, it was like a year or so. And so when I had moved away from Bastrop for a year, I thought I was going to move. And then I had come back, and that's when I met my husband when I came back and got married. And so I was wanting to sell the property and move, you know, at that time, but I didn't know what to do because I kept saying, I don't know what I want to do. I'm all over the place. I can't make up my mind. Should I stay or should I go? You know, I didn't, and I already had that weird encounter with that other phone call about don't sell your land. And so I was all confused, you know, so my brain was like going back and forth, not knowing what to do. And so this homeless guy gets up and he looks at me, and he looks at me funny, he goes, "Oh, I see." And I said, "What?" He said, you're all over the place. Why are you all over the place?" And I said, "What? How do you know that? How, I say that all the time. How do you know that? I say I'm all over the place." And he said, "Oh, I see why." And he said, it's because of Tasha. And I'm like, "What?" And he was like where we were standing on the sidewalk, he was looking past me toward the cemetery where she was buried. He said, "It's because of Tasha." And I'm like, "What did you just say?" And he said, and he said, "I can't say that again." I go, "What do you mean you can't say that again? What did you just say?" Because I wanted him to confirm that he just said my daughter's name. And he said, "Well, some things are blocked and I can't say it again." And I'm like, okay, this is getting weird, you know. So I'm sitting there talking to this guy, and all of a sudden my husband pulls up in the truck, and he's like, "What are you doing? I thought you were going home." And I said, "Well, I was, but I'm talking to this guy." And he goes, "Well, you said you were going to go home. So, you know," and he's like getting all mad at me. And I'm like, "I'll be there in a little bit. Don't worry." You know, he's like freaking out. Right. And so he looks at me and he goes, "You probably should go now, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess so, you know." So I'm thinking to myself, what the heck was that all about? How did he know about Tasha? How did he know I was all over the place? And I'm freaking out, like, and then I'm thinking, you know, here my husband comes up and he interrupts like the devil, you know, he has me going home, you know, and I'm like, good grief, you know, like I'm some little kid or something, you know. And so I go home, and all night I can't sleep because I keep thinking about this guy, you know. I keep thinking, you know, who's reading the Bible and he's telling me about Tasha, and I'm like, he doesn't know me. He's just some guy passing through the town, doesn't know anything, And so I say, God, so that the next day, all day, I'm thinking about him too. And then I go to sleep. And then the next day after that, I say, you know what, God, that wasn't really fair. I didn't get a chance to really talk to that guy. And I really have a lot of questions. I mean, I think that there's something going on there. And I would really wish I could talk to that guy more. So I drive into town and I'm driving down 95 and I look over and it's kind of raining out. And there he is walking down the side of the road, like coming toward, 95, going toward where the ranch was. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I pull over on the side of the road. I pull off on the side of the road and so Joel's in there and he rolls his window down. Joel rolls his window down. And I said, where are you going? He said, oh, I'm just walking. And I said, I had some questions. He said, okay. Well, we sat on the side of the road for 4 hours and talked. And I asked him, how did you know? How did you say what you said? And how do you know those things and stuff like that? He looked at me, he said, the same way you know things, the Holy Spirit. And I said,
Feel each other.
huh?
I said, Holy Spirit, when you have it, everybody that has it can feel it.
Yeah. He said, that's how he said Tasha, the Holy Spirit gave him that name,
Speaking of God, Andy, are you okay? Andy, unmute. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Did you find out any more about? There was a gas leak in a house, and
That went bad.
the house exploded while the fire department was in there.
What?
I read the article that you sent me, Andy, and all of the firefighters were accounted for, and with EMS.
Yeah, 1 is confirmed dead. 9 others were transported. 4 critical, 5 serious.
Your fire people got hurt?
Yeah, they were in the wasn't where I live. It's in Virginia.
Yeah, it was.
They got dispatched to a house for a reported gas leak. Smell outside the residence. They went to walk in the house to check with the meters, and when they did, the house exploded.
No way.
Yep.
I'll tell you, we had one here one night, and it rocked almost the whole town. And it was a house that sat by itself, was a big old house, and there was a husband, wife, a son, a daughter, and one of their mothers lived with them. Well, the daughter was spending the night at a friend's house, and they had just had a gas tank buried and just had new lines put in. And it was the middle of the night, and they were all asleep, and the house just totally exploded. There was nothing left of that house. Nothing.
Several years ago, I was on one. It dispatched as a house explosion. The elderly couple had just had a stove installed in their kitchen, and the person that came in to install it didn't hook up the wires and the tank or propane and stuff correctly. And they went to flip the stove on, and when it did, the house exploded. Actually, the outside of the house was fine. The inside was completely gutted. They actually found the stove knobs embedded into the ceiling on the second floor.
Cow. I don't mess too much with natural gas because I have a guy when I was younger. I used to date him, and he is now a LA firefighter. And I've known too much with the natural gas. Natural gas is very dangerous if it's not hooked up right, if anything punctures it, anything like that. So I don't really mess too much with it. It scares me to death.
Yeah, me and Penny had bad experience. We almost got gassed to death. So
yeah,
we don't like it either.
That. but so far, now who has the radio updates on that? Is it Glenn?
I think Glenn and Mike's at the fire station listening to it
Is Mike
now.
at the fire station? Okay.
Yeah.
So you said one person did die, was a
One
fireman?
firefighter is dead because he got blown into the front yard across the street from the house. The other ones they found in the basement and the first floor area.
Was there a family in there too?
I'm not sure. I think they were outside when it happened.
Was this a call that you were called to, Andy? I'm confused.
No, I wasn't involved. It's in another state.
It was on the radios. They all have radios, and actually, I'm hooked up with them too with Andy on my phone. If I want to talk to them or Mike or anybody in the states that they're at, all I have to do is turn on my radio, and I can talk to any of them. But they all communicate.
It was in Virginia, is that right?
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah,
How
Mhm.
far away from that? How far away from you?
he's in.
Probably an hour or so.
Yeah.
Hour and a
Okay.
half. Oh,
Another one. Shit.
snow emergency plan for Washington County is in effect.
Oh.
It's snowing here. We're
It's
supposed to get like
snowing.
6 inches of snow.
Oh, right. Here goes the car accidents now because those people can't drive in the snow. They
Exactly.
end up trees and over here and in people's houses.
It has not been a good day for Washington
I
County.
guess not.
We had a tow truck
What
driver got killed.
What Andy does, Penny, if you don't know, Andy, like me, is in a wheelchair. So he does the fire photography for where he's at. He does volunteer fire photography. He also keeps track of where to send the photographers if he's not going, and keeps track of all the calls that come in. He has something set up for 911. So when somebody calls 911, as the operator's putting it in, he gets the feed
Info.
outs from it. So the info from it. So he knows what's going on where. So it's pretty interesting. He told me I need to do that. But the thing of it is I'm surrounded by 4 departments and none of them are volunteer. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's pretty neat. I've seen some of his photos that they take, and he
Yeah,
sends
just
me
the ones that I was allowed to send.
the ones he's allowed to send. Darn it. And you know what? Here it is, because I'm the type of person, when they did surgery on my leg and they had it open because I had an infection in it and they had to take it out when they did one of the surgeries. They had it open. And dude, I was all up in there with my flashlight going, "Ooh, is that my bone?" Doctor's like, "What are you doing?" Most people would be like, "Oh, I can't look." Are you kidding? Not me. I worked in a hospital for 10 years. The only thing I cannot handle, because trust me, I've had people piss in my shoes, shit down my leg. The only thing I cannot handle is when somebody hawks a damn loogie. That makes me sick.
You did a great job.
But as far as anything
Everyone
else,
should do that.
yeah, and I know,
Wow.
right? It is. It's pretty cool. But I can handle a lot of stuff, so it doesn't bother me. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad stuff. I was working one night, and don't ask me why they sent this child to the hospital. Because when that child came in, she was in 2 pieces. So I don't know why they sent her to the hospital. They should have sent her straight to the morgue. But I have seen some horrible things. So things don't really bother me. Like I said, the only thing that bothers me is somebody hawking a loogie while I'm walking. And I hear them do it. I'm like, oh!
You mean
And I know why. Because when I first was working in a nursing home, we used to have a guy that used to lay in bed, and he used to do that and spit them on the ceiling. So when you walk in there, you had to be careful where you stepped so you didn't slip, and hope like hell nothing fell on you. And one day I'm in there and I'm trying to get him cleaned up, take care of him, and I feel something go drip on my head, and I was like, oh no.
Ew.
Boy, I left out of that room. I went into one of the shower rooms. I took my clothes off. I took a shower. I washed my got that dressed and went back to work. I was like, no, God. So yeah, I can't. That is one thing I cannot handle. You can puke on me; it doesn't bother me.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
But yeah,
I'll try that.
I like freak out. I don't know why. I've had to strip my clothes off at the hospital and put hospital gowns on and wash my clothes in the washing machines there because I've had people
Do everything.
poop on me. I'm like, oh, yuck.
Wow. Okay,
Right.
so that guy that I was telling you about the story, I asked him what his name was, and he said he had many names. So I said, and he told me he was just passing through. So I said, well, I guess I'll just call you just passing through, right? And but he didn't have a name. So but he told me in 4 hours that he asked me when I was going to start researching and do what God told me to do, to start to research and that's what started my research. Okay. And the other thing he said to me was that he felt like, he said, I think this is a good place to be right now. And I'm like, here now? So that's when I went home after that 4-hour conversation with him. And I'd already had that guy from Florida call me. And I decided to pull my property off the market at that point because I'd already had 2 confirmations that I shouldn't sell at that point, and that I needed to start doing my research. And that's when I started my research mainly on UFOs, and I started digging into the UFO, world, and that's what started me down. You know what I mean?
People.
Yeah. So that was really weird because I had 2 people come to me, and give me that direction, So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Susie, sometimes I think that you're absolutely remarkable because you walk into Dollar General and you run into people that are different. Different.
Great.
It's like
God always has conversations with me at the Dollar General too. I have no idea why. I think it has something to do with my name because my name's Penny. I don't know.
I think Jack has heard us. I think Jack has heard us talking about Dollar General because he absolutely refuses to take me there again, ever.
Just, God has had conversations with me when I go to the Dollar General. He told me this one individual,
Right?
that I sent the picture to you both. He said that you'll be working with this person, but not working with this person. I was like, thank you so much. What does that even mean? I'll be working with them, but not working with them. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, but thank you. And it turned out that's about when David asked me to join the show, and it turned into reality.
Right? What else were you told at the dollar store?
I don't know. I'm always told something. When I have a dilemma, there's 2 things I do. One, I either go to the dollar store or I go see Susie and say, take me around the ranch or something. Because I need to get out of the house. Like when Gina Bisagnago, I can never say her name right. She's a J6er. She got written up in Rolling Stone. And they did a hit piece on her. And I put my phone down. That was it. I was just like, and I started crying. And so I just went out and I said, I didn't think my life was going to be like, I'm going to be upset because my friend who was a January 6er who was thrown in jail, now the Rolling Stone wrote a hit piece on her. I just didn't think my life was going to be there, you know what I'm saying? But it is there. And I remember when Kathy O'Brien said she was going to be on the show, I went out to see Susie because I needed to go outside. And I started crying and I said, I know this is where God wants me because these are the people I had questions for, and they're being sent so that I can, ask them certain questions. And, you know, the show that we do, just for your audience, Awake Nation, is Monday through Friday. It goes sound like a
Yeah.
commercial.
Yeah,
Monday
we are running out of time, so yes.
8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, and that's 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern, every day, Monday through Friday. And we have some incredible guests on there that I am just privileged to make their acquaintance, and I can see a longevity, and I can literally like see a future that involves what God had told me when I was around 5 or 6. He said, and when I was about 5, I wrote a card in crayon, I guess, and said I work for God. I wrote a bunch of them on like a piece of paper, and then I handed them out to everybody. I work for God, and then I had an office in my closet, and so when I met Susie on the ranch, I had a nice closet. It wasn't huge, but it was good. It was big size, and so I made an office. I had my office in the closet. So I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, I'm like 60 and something's never changed." I'm like, I had an office when I was 5, and now I'm 60 and I have an office in the closet again. It's like when I was on the road with my sister, my dad gave me some cowboy boots. Okay? I've been wearing cowboy boots since I was little, but I say I'm a fake cowgirl. Susie's the real one. So I had these cowboy boots. I wouldn't take them off, and I had to sleep in the bed with my sister Sandy. And she was like, "Take those cowboy boots off." And I said, "No, Dad gave them to me," and I wouldn't take them off. So she kicked me out of the bed. I ended up on the floor. So years later, I'm playing at the Holiday Inn, and John is my agent. And now I find out that she actually knows John, which that's a whole nother story. But so I think she's meeting him like for the first time. Anyway, I'm at the Holiday Inn, and I bring her, she knocks on the door. She flew up to see me from California. And I open the door, and the first thing she does is she looks down at my feet. I'm wearing cowboy boots, right? And I look at her and I go, sometimes some things don't change. I said, "No way." And I said, "But you got your own bed." So
I wear my cowboy boots everywhere
You
too.
had an easy
Right?
call to turn the ship.
Even when they get water in them, even when they
But
get
I
water.
said, "You have your own bed, so you don't have to worry about me wearing the cowboy boots to bed." And I actually do take them off now before I go to sleep. But I started dancing in the cowboy boots because they were just more comfortable, and I remember when I was playing at the Hilton, and they actually had a firefight I was telling Susie about this because she said she wanted to do weddings and stuff, and I said, "Well, I was a wedding singer, okay, for a long time." I said, the Mexicans, they kill one another at the weddings, and so I was playing this one wedding, and I was playing at the Hilton, okay, and there's a wedding room next door. It must have been soundproof, I swear to God, because I didn't hear anything. And right in the middle of our set, like
Damn, she must have
10 police officers come running in, and then they're dragging these guys out in handcuffs, and I'm like, "What was that?" Right? Because we're so loud, right? We're a band. We're really loud. And so we take a break, and I open the door of the room, and they literally like trashed the room, and they were shooting in there. They were literally shooting, and I didn't hear any of that because our band was so loud. So they had a firefight in there while we were playing. And so I said, sometimes the Mexican, somebody dies at the Mexican weddings. That's something that happens.
One of these days, I will get Jack to get in the closet. What size shoe do you wear, Penny?
Me, 8.5.
Susie, what about you?
7.
I have a very expensive pair of riding boots, and I loved those things. I used to go dancing in them, and I obviously can't wear them. Then it doesn't look right with just one on. I'm telling you, I can get away with one shoe on everything, but not the boots. Okay, but I'll have to look and see. I don't know if they're a 6 or a 7, but I'll check. But anyways, listen, guys, it is time for us to go. Penny, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
You are welcome anytime. Andy, glad you made it.
Yeah, me too, finally.
Right?
And
Did I say that?
Susie went. I heard Susie did her Awake Nation today, and I heard she did really well. I'm gonna have
She
to go
did.
and watch it later on. I usually watch them. If I don't catch them during the day, I watch them at night. So, everybody out there, I advise you to check out the Awake Nation. Outstanding show, and she is right. They do have spectacular guests, and one of these days we're gonna steal some. So,
Right. I'll bring some of them to you.
right. But okay, everybody. Well, it is time for us to go. Y'all stick around. And we will see you all later. Bye.
Bye.